Shalom, welcome back to BreslovCampus. Insights in the parsha of the week, Parshat Mikeitz, this amazing Shabbat of Chanukah. The parsha is amazing, as everyone can see. The whole idea of Pharaoh's dreams and Yosef interpreting them. But the question is so obvious. What was so special about Yosef's interpretation that made Pharaoh believe that this is the true interpretation, as opposed to his other astrologers and other wise men who gave all types of different interpretations, and it wasn't sinking into Pharaoh's heart? And yet came along Yosef Tzaddik and was able to give an interpretation, and it was so accepting to Pharaoh that he made him viceroy. What's going on here? What's the idea here? It's that, like Rashi points out, that the advice, the interpretation given by the advisors of Pharaoh was just an explanation of the situation. They said, for example, 7 daughters you will have, 7 daughters you will bury. Okay, so what? Yeah, fine. That's very sad. It's very negative. You have a solution? What is the purpose of everything? Yosef Tzaddik, like the idea of a true Tzaddik, was able to explain the situation. There's going to be a famine. There's going to be first 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. So there's going to be a lot of food, and it's going to be swallowed up. And why twice the dream? Why first with the cows and then with the stalks of wheat? Because it's going to happen ASAP. It's going to happen right now. Now what you need to do is the following. And he gave him the advice. You have to now appoint someone who won't be slacking in the job and who will take care to make sure that the Egyptian coffers are filled with tons of food, surplus, so that the people will have food for those 7 years of famine. It will be stored away. So Pharaoh was impressed that this man was able to give an interpretation acceptable, because Pharaoh as a king saw that applies to the whole nation, but not just to give an interpretation of a forthcoming disaster, but also a solution. And because the examples that Rashi brings, for example, is that they gave the other advisors that Pharaoh gave scenario of just something negative and that's it. And here Yosef was able to give an explanation of the situation plus advice what to do. That is what made him a tzaddik, because this is the idea of a tzaddik, which Pharaoh even himself saw, is that a tzaddik is not just someone who interprets what's happening, but he's able to interpret and give you advice what to do. That's the main koach Rabbi Nachman explains and Rav Noson explains of the tzaddikim, is they're looking to help give people good advice to help the situation. It's not a chidush. It's not an amazing feat for someone to look into you and to give you an explanation of what you're going through. The real feat is to be able to do that plus a solution for the situation. Pharaoh saw that Yosef gave a clear solution immediately, even without having to ask him. Yosef on his own said, this is the situation and this is what needs to be done. Pharaoh didn't ask Yosef what needed to be done, yet Yosef on his own initiative opened up to say this is what has to be done, seeing that characteristic of a man who is caring and rachaman, who is compassionate and wants to help. That's what was able to convince Pharaoh that this is somebody very special, that he knows the situation, and he also expresses what has to be done to save, and he's on his own initiative coming to explain that, as opposed to the other advisors of Pharaoh who didn't give a solution. They just mentioned something negative. You can have 7 daughters, and you're going to bury 7 daughters. And there's nothing. They're not on their own mentioning something beneficial or positive, just to put him in a trauma and a fear. So from here, Pharaoh was able to identify that this is a true tzaddik, and this is a message for all of us always, that the quality to find a leader, a teacher, is someone who's not just is able to explain to you the Torah, but to explain to you the Torah and give you practical advice from it. What do you gain from it? This is a tzaddik. This is a leader that in his teachings is already encoded within it the problem that you're going through plus the solution.